what that would really take. So I said, okay, maybe I can pull it off. So I accepted that. I reached Bangalore. I call him up. He starts walking me through those slides. Now, the more he was walking me through it, I somehow realized that instead of grasping what I had to say, I was going more and more blank. Okay. I somehow managed to keep my calm. I reached the hotel and I started to interact with people who were already there, who were already present. So they come and they asked me that, okay, where are you from and which company, who's the speaker? So I proudly said, I am the speaker. I told this to a lot of people already. My turn was third speaking slot. Okay, the event begins. The first speaker goes on the platform, a very experienced and a senior gentleman, gray hair, dressed in a suit very sharply. Okay, this man is killing it on the stage, killing it literally. He was an expert in public speaking, I could tell. Now, do you think that looking at him, I got all the confidence that I didn't have at that point? No, it completely demoralized me. Completely. I just realized how unprepared I am, and I am about to meet total disaster. I knew it. The second person comes then. That person is also great, absolutely amazing. Now, I was absolutely so nervous. I had forgotten everything. Everything. I knew that if I go on the stage today, I'm simply going to make a fool of myself and come down. I called my boss and I told him, look, I cannot present. I'm really not prepared. And trust me, it turned very, very ugly. I eventually did not present. I was so ashamed of myself when I had made the announcement to a lot of people that I am the speaker and they were looking at me. Later, an announcement was made that the speaker has not come today. So instead, we are just going to play a short 2-minute video. And people were looking at me who I had already met and I had announced that I am the speaker. It was so embarrassing. I could not even look at them eye to eye. Next day, when I go to office, I was I was really embarrassed, okay, because the news had already reached. My boss was not in Pune, but the news had already reached. I really felt I'm going to be fired. Fortunately, I did not get fired. I think they really understood that I was new in the company and that it was quite a situation. So they kind of let it go, but it was a very, very embarrassing thing. And did this thing come up in the future? They brought it up a zillion times to ridicule me and to make fun of me. It came up a lot of times. Okay. Now, 3 months later, I did something very different. There was another opportunity for me to make a presentation at Godrej and Boys. I clearly remember. I'd gone to Mumbai. Now, this time around, I prepared myself. I realized what it actually takes to deliver a talk to a large audience. I understood that you have to really be prepared. You've got to plan yourself. It's not like having a team meeting, it is very different. It is a very different ball game altogether. So when I had my slide deck with me, I literally started to prepare slide wise talking points. So if I'm on this slide, here's what I'm going to say. I planned myself like that. I went for that particular event. I gave a 45-minute talk. There were three massive screens behind me. There were about 80 people in front of me, and there was a camera recording the session. That is what I thought. After the session, I got to know that the session was being broadcast live to another 500 people across Godrej and Boys, okay, across the globe. Now, that was a biggest achievement for me. But why am I trying to tell you this story right now? Why did I tell you something that I am so ashamed of? That is the question. What is the point that I'm trying to really prove to you? Any guesses? Can you write that in the comment box? What is it that I'm really trying to impress upon you right now? Why would I tell you something like that? I can keep this as a secret. I mean, why should I tell you that? You'll never find out that I made a fool of myself like that. Why should I tell you that? Tell me. What do you feel? Why should I tell you? And why did I tell you? Any idea? What is the reason for me to do this? One word, if you can give me one word, what is this called? Anybody? Except the failure, importance of preparation. Okay. There is one word, it's called vulnerability. To be vulnerable. Vulnerable means you expose yourself to ridicule, you expose yourself to judgment. So, as a speaker, when you are willing to be vulnerable, you open up to the audience and you don't only talk about things that you are very proud of and only your victories and your wins, but you also talk about your failures and you talk about the roadblocks and the obstacles that you have faced. Your audience will come a bit closer to you because they will only realize that you are as human as they are. If you only talk about all the wonderful achievements that you've had, you are simply intimidating the audience and you are pushing them away from you. You don't even realize that. Okay. So it is extremely important to be vulnerable, to be open, to ridicule sometimes, because the things that you might say will it's going to come at a risk, right? But if you do not talk about those shortcomings, you're basically telling the audience that I don't have a growth mindset, I'm absolutely perfect, and everything is just working amazingly smooth in my life. But that's not the case. When you talk about the times when you hit complete rock bottom, and then you also talk about how you came out of it, so the typical rags to riches kind of a format, it's very inspiring. So you basically give a little hope to your audience that if they are also facing something similar, there is some hope for them. There is a ray of hope, right? And when you get into this sort of a mode, you become extremely vulnerable. You are giving yourself an opportunity to connect with your audience on a much deeper level. Great speakers understand this. You will realize that speakers come and talk about such things about their personal life which you won't even believe. Now, I'm not saying that speak anything and everything. There are certain things which are too personal to you. You know where to draw the line. But I'm saying don't be so reluctant and don't be only so tempted to talk about things that you think will add to your credibility. Okay, so vulnerability is the watchword. Now, when people came to me and they started to understand this, they really shifted their conversations. Even corporate people find it very tempting to somehow brag their tail. I don't know why. I've seen this happen all the time, right? The moment they have to start a conversation, even with a potential client, it's all about all my great achievements and all the great companies I work for, but they never get into the vulnerable mode, and that is the opportunity they are really missing. That is why we are not able to connect with people. See, understand, even if you're a great salesperson, please understand what makes a salesperson a great salesperson. Why is it that that person is able to sell more than anybody else? Well, the product is the same, the service is the same, company is the same. One guy is very successful, the other guy is not. Why? The other guy understands the human to human connection aspect of sales. Sales is not about somebody buying from your company, it is about somebody buying from you. If they like you, they will consider everything that stands behind you. If they don't like you, if they don't connect with you, they are not going to consider anything else. Because what is the company eventually? The company is people. It's not the laptops and the building and all of that, right? It's the people that forms the company. Okay, it's always a human to human connection. You have to understand what makes another person connect with you, what brings them closer to you, and what pushes them away. So when you learn to be vulnerable, you start doing something else. I've had people come to me and they've had some crazy experiences. Okay. Now there was a gentleman, he was working for Microsoft. Here's what he had to say. When I joined this public speaking course, I was really worried about my confidence level. Being in my late 40s and a manager, it was super embarrassing not being able to speak up in front of the senior management. But this program changed everything for me. It gave me the push needed to speak my mind clearly and with confidence. Just last month, I led a big negotiation for my company and nailed it. The senior folks noticed and appreciated it big time. It felt like a huge win for me, grateful forever. This came to me as an email. That is the reason why I'm sharing it like this. Okay. There's another gentleman in my community. Okay, his name is Srini. Srini is a procurement professional. He's been with me for a long time. He's a diamond member. Okay, he has gone through the aggressive weekly sessions that we go through, and he's sharing his experience. All I'm trying to impress upon you is that these people have changed something about the way they interact with people. That is the reason why they're able to experience those transformative changes. Okay, so I just want you to hear him.
Hello, friends. I'm Srinivasan from Mumbai, a part of the Diamond Speakers Academy. Well, to begin with, the reason why I joined — lack of confidence in speaking, too much hesitation, and finally, fast way of speaking. Though I had the ideas, but many times I was not able to put it across properly. And in a corporate world, it is very essential that you put it at the right place at the right time, else you are gone. After having joined the Diamond Members Academy, there was a lot of practice involved, and I'm glad that now
You are not able to hear? Somebody said audio in the chat box. Can others hear? Jignesh, can you hear? Jignesh, yes, it is audible. Yes. I think everybody else is able to hear. Mahesh, I think you might want to check the audio at your end, okay? I'll just continue.
I got the confidence and energy to speak. Thank you, Persis.
You know what changed about these people? They have become storytellers. That is the art of persuasion. If you ask me, how does a person land up connecting with another human being? It is because they have understood the art of storytelling. In the corporate world, for the most part, even in the education sector, for the most part, we never tell any stories. And that is the biggest problem. We directly want to get to the point thinking that the information that we are going to share is so important that the audience are simply going to fall in love with us. You have to understand that you are currently in the information age. Information is a click of a button away. There are tools like ChatGPT, they do not need more information from you. What they need is an experience. Okay. Always remember this one thing I'm going to tell you. Your audience will not remember what you said, they will only remember how you made them feel. That is your ability. Okay, that is where you are you are going to differentiate yourself from a mediocre speaker. A mediocre speaker simply thinks it's about throwing information at the audience as if they are dying for that information. They are not dying for that information, they have it. How you could present something very not so out of the world, but if you can give them a great experience, you want to share some lessons, you want to share an important message to them, can you wrap it in the form of a story and then share it? Strategic storytelling is what we're talking about, right? If you can do that, that is going to make a world of a difference. But why is it so important? See, when you stand in front of an audience like this gentleman here, this man created some magic. Does anybody know who he is? Anyone? His name is Brian Stevenson. Brian Stevenson gave a TED talk in 2012 on the power of identity. This man is a civil rights attorney in the US. He's also an executive director of a non-profit organization called the Equal Justice Initiative. Okay. Through this non-profit organization, he provides legal representation for poor defendants who are not able to afford expensive lawyers. And more often than not, they're treated unfairly in the criminal justice system. Now, when he goes on the TED platform, he does something very magical, because of which two very unique things happened. One thing was he gets the longest standing ovation in the history of TED. The longest standing ovation. People stood and they clapped for the longest time ever. Okay, that was one. But that was not so great. The thing I'm just going to tell you is greater, and it's unbelievable. You can also look it up on the internet later if you like. The audience donated 1 million US dollars towards his non-profit organization after the talk, after a 20-minute talk. What in the world do you think he did so right that the audience was so persuaded to do this without even he asking for it? What do you think he must have done? Now, this drove everybody crazy, right? So, everybody wanted to understand what actually worked in his favor. So, one man really came to everybody's mind. Do we know who this is? Can we turn our videos on if you don't mind? Do you know who this person is? Anybody? Do we know who this person is? It's Aristotle. It's Aristotle, right? Aristotle is one of the founding fathers of communication theory. According to Aristotle, when three components come together, persuasion has to occur. There is no way possible that it won't. And what are those components? Very simple. He says ethos, logos, and pathos. These three are essential, okay? What is ethos? Let's take it one by one. Ethos means credibility. So when the speaker is trying to establish his or her credibility on the platform, that is called ethos, that element. So when you talk about some of your achievements and your qualification and your experience, because you're basically trying to convince the audience that yes, I am capable and qualified enough to share this information with you. Without that, they may not trust you, right? They want to know that you are credible enough, qualified enough, and experienced enough to guide them on this journey. Otherwise, they may not trust you, they won't believe you, right? That is the ethos element, credibility. Okay. The second element is logos. What is logos? Logos simply means data and evidence. So if I am going to talk about a certain study that's been conducted, I'm throwing some statistics at you, all of this stuff, I am sharing data and evidence and proof to back up my message, to make it more solid and believable. Okay. That is why you will see every TED talk is definitely going to have some data and some evidence. It is absolutely a must have. Okay. In a good talk. And the third thing is pathos. What is pathos? Pathos is emotional appeal. Does the talk emotionally appeal to my audience? Am I able to trigger certain emotions in my audience through my talk? That is called pathos. So when these three things are present in your talk, credibility, data and evidence, and emotional appeal, it is absolutely inevitable that your talk will persuade the audience, because that is pure science. That is the way the human mind works. It has to work every single time without an exception. Of course, your ability to deliver also matters, because see, what you say is not as important as how you say it. How you say is infinitely more important than what you say, so that also really matters. But there certain elements have to be a part of your talk, and that is what TED does. When they give you that perfect structure, they are they are making sure that there is credibility inside, there is emotional appeal, there is data and evidence. All of those different elements are there, and it is power packed, because they want the probability of you delivering a blockbuster talk to be very high. Okay. Now, Brian Stevenson's talk, as I said, was driving everybody crazy. So there was one particular author that counted his talk, counted the words. So there were apparently some 3,000 some odd words that came out of that man's mouth that day during that TED talk, The Power of Identity. So this author created three buckets, okay? Ethos, logos, and pathos: credibility, data and evidence, and emotional appeal. Every time Brian Stevenson spoke about himself, and he said, he spoke about his work in the prison and all of that, and as an executive director of that non-profit organization, he was basically trying to establish his credibility. He collected all of those words and put into the ethos bucket, the credibility bucket. When Brian Stevenson threw some numbers at the audience, or some statistics, or some study that was conducted, all of those words were collected and put into the data and evidence bucket, into logos. Okay. Every time Brian Stevenson told a story, an emotional story to their audience, all of those words were collected and put into the pathos bucket, into the emotional appeal bucket. What do you think was the result? What percentage out of 100 was ethos? What percentage out of 100 was logos? And how much was pathos? What, in your opinion, what was the distribution? We're trying to understand what is the most important element. Is it credibility? Is it data and evidence? Or is it emotional appeal? Is it equal weightage, or one has to weigh a lot more than the other? Any guesses? Just as per your uh, thinking. 20, 20, 60. Okay. 20, 30, 50. What else? But I can see that you somewhat get it. Okay. Emotional high. Absolutely. See, you all are getting it. You all are understanding it. Let me show you the result. The result was this: ethos was only 10%, logos, data and evidence, was 25%, remaining 65% was all emotional appeal. Okay. He told three stories in a span of 20 minutes. What kind of stories? Very complicated, fancy stories? No, very simple stories. He told a story about his grandmother, about a janitor in a court, and about another lady. Very simple stories that anyone could relate to. If a child was hearing his talk, even a child would be able to relate to that story. Okay? When a person is telling stories, something magical really happens. Why? Why do you think that when you join my 1 hour session, in the first few minutes, I got into a personal story and I spent a considerable amount of time telling you that story? I took you on a I took you through an experience. Why did I do that? Because when you come in front of an audience, you have to understand that there is an invisible barrier between you and the audience. They will not believe everything you say because you are not known to them. If you are unknown, they don't trust you yet. Why in the world should they believe anything you say? See, today we're in a world where everybody is more than eager to share some sort of advice, right? Whether they are experienced in that field or not, but they have something to tell us. They're so helpful, right? Now, with in this situation, you are just another person who's come there and who wants to force things upon them. At least that's what they feel in the beginning, right? Why should they believe you? Why should they believe anything you say? You've not done anything to earn their trust yet. So there is an invisible barrier between you and the audience. Now, in this situation, a typical amateur, inexperienced speaker will come and start throwing information at people. That person will come and talk about his or her great achievements, thinking that the audience is very impressed by those achievements, and now they're going to be all ears. A big mistake. Big mistake. All that information you're throwing at them is simply bouncing back at you. It's not even reaching them because there is a barrier. How do you get past that barrier? The only way to get past that barrier is to emotionalize the message. How do you emotionalize the message? By telling them stories. What does emotionalize mean? Does it mean you tell them sad stories? Not at all. You induce any emotion. Emotion can mean anger, it can mean joy, it can mean excitement, it could mean anything, shock, anything. You have to induce an emotion. Why? Why is emotion so important? Because when you when you induce a certain emotion, you are going to allow the audience to drop their guards. If you want to reach their head, you want to plant certain seeds into their mind, you want to influence them, you want to persuade them to do something, right? So you want to plant a seed of thought in their mind. That can only happen if you touch their heart first. The path to their brain is from the heart. If you touch their heart first, they will give you access to their brain, they will open up to you, they will drop the guards and they will let you in. Once that connection has been established, once you have connected with the audience on a personal and emotional level, after that, whatever you tell them will resonate with them because now they trust you more. Don't be that person who directly goes and throws information without even making an attempt to connect with your audience. That is the biggest mistake people make. So when corporate leaders come and they hear this, they actually get very enlightened because they realize at this point that this is what they don't do. They never do it. They never make an attempt. And they are never trying to connect with their people on a personal and emotional level. They just feel they have to be very autocratic and whatever they say has to work. But that doesn't really work in the real world because you are dealing with human beings. Human beings are emotional beings. We have to connect with them on a personal and emotional level, and then you see what they do for you. Once you earn their trust, they will do something very different for you. I've led teams and I know that. Okay, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking out of a book. Okay. Now there is something that happens when you connect with people like that. Okay, see, when you tell stories and when certain emotions are getting triggered, there is a hormone called oxytocin that gets released into the brain. What is oxytocin? This is the same hormone that is getting released in a woman when she has just given birth to a child. Why is this done? I mean, why is nature doing it? Oxytocin will enable a person to feel empathy. They will try to understand another human being. They will put themselves in another human being's shoes. The mother has gone through extreme pain, but she still cares for the child. Oxytocin enables the mother to care for that child despite of going through extreme pain. Okay. Now, the same thing will happen when you emotionalize your message. Because of oxytocin getting released into their brain, they will empathize with you if the story is about you. Or if the story is about another person, they'll empathize with that person, they'll put themselves in their shoes, and they'll be able to relate. And they will come along on that journey. That is what oxytocin does. There is another hormone called dopamine. Dopamine gets released in huge quantities depending on how that emotionally charged was that event. Okay, more the emotional charge, more dopamine gets released in the brain. Now I want to ask somebody a question. Does anybody want to volunteer? I want to ask you something very important. It's not a big task. Okay, anybody wants to volunteer? Just say me or something in the chat box. I'll unmute you. It's very simple. Very simple. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Jignesh, thanks. I'll unmute you. Okay. Just a second. So, Jignesh, do you remember 9/11? Just a moment. Where did you go? Okay, there you are. Yeah. Jignesh, I'm going to allow you to unmute. Okay. Yes. Do you remember 9/11 when the two planes crashed into the World Trade Center? Do you remember that event?
Yes, yes.
You remember that. Okay. Can you tell all of us who gave you that news? Okay. How did you come to know? Where were you at that point exactly? Who were you with? Was it morning, afternoon, night, evening? Okay. Where were you exactly? What was going on that day? Can you tell us in as much detail as you remember?
Need to have some breakup. Means need to prepare for that.
No, no, just tell us where were you? Jignesh, just remember that the day you got that news that these two
Okay.
planes have crashed into the World Trade Center,
Yeah.
what were you doing that day? I just want to know where were you, who were you with, who gave you the news, how did you feel? Do you remember it? Do you remember that event?
Yeah, I remember the event. But, it was a normal day that day, and
Okay,
9/11 was the news which reflect all over the country and all over the world.
correct,
It
correct, correct,
spread as soon as possible. It was hit the Twin Towers.
correct. Okay. So where were you exactly when you got the news? Do you remember where you were? What were you doing?
I was in office only.
You were in office. So you clearly remember you were in office.
Yeah.
Now, are you able to visualize that scene in the office? Do you remember that scene in the office when you got the news? In your
Not
mind's eye, can you see it in pictures?
not really recollect that.
Okay. Does anybody else remember it clearly? Anybody else has a very vivid experience of that? Anybody else wants to share? Wait, hold on, okay? Yeah, Lalita, I'll let you unmute. Yeah,
Hi,
Lalita.
sir.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so tell me.
Um, yeah, I clearly remember I was in my office, and I think
Okay.
that was my first job.
Mm-hmm.
And we all were working on our systems, and suddenly one of my colleague, he came up and he disclosed the news that this is all over there on the internet, and
Correct.
he shared a picture also of the two towers being blasted and how they are falling down, probably a video, and we saw it on our system, and yes, we were all actually overwhelmed. I mean,
Yeah,
there was not much of reaction, but later on, when we came to know the details, then we
yeah.
knew actually what had
The clarity
happened.
of the situation, right? So, but you clearly remember
Yes,
that scene that day, right?
yes,
It's so
I
vivid
remember
and so
that, sir.
clear in your mind, right? Now,
Yes.
Lalita, today is the 15th of August, okay? 10 days ago, 10 days ago, exactly at this time, can you tell us where were you and what were you doing?
5th of August.
15, 10
Um,
days before. Yeah, 5th of August.
5th of August. I think it was,
Quite a struggle, right? To remember.
yeah. If I, 10 days, maybe it was a weekday only, 5th
Mhm.
of August. Yes, it was Monday,
Yeah.
and I was in office only on my routine work.
Okay.
Nothing special. It was
Nothing
my
special.
brother's but it happens to be my brother's birthday. So
Correct.
he's no more with me. So that day I remember, but it was a routine day.
Okay. Okay. Do you know why Lalita does not remember what happened 10 days ago, but she clearly remembers what happened more than 20 years ago. Do you know why?
Yes, because
She,
of that even.
because of that event. But do you know why? You experienced an extreme emotion that day. It was an extreme emotion of shock. Everybody on who was alive or was is matured enough to understand what happened that day clearly remembers that day really well, because everybody was in a state of extreme shock. I mean, two planes crashing in a building was like a sci-fi movie, you know. So I mean, how can that even happen? We were extremely shocked. Because of that shock, there was dopamine being released in the brain in heavy doses. Okay, dopamine is of course a mental transmitter, but it also acts as a mental sticky note. Okay, it enables you to remember things long term. So the moment you give somebody a very emotionally charged experience, there is a release of dopamine in their brain, and that particular event will stick. Now, there's one thing you said about 5 days ago. You didn't remember anything, but sorry to hear about what you just said about your brother, but you
Brothers.
said that it was that day was your brother's birthday. That was the only thing you remembered. You realized why? There is emotion. There is
And
emotion.
yes.
That was the only aspect you remembered. Dopamine says it's like a sticky note on the brain. Remember this. Okay. This is the science behind making your talk extremely memorable. So when you induce emotions in your talk, people will remember your talk long term. So if your goal as a speaker is to persuade them to take some sort of an action, how likely are they to take any action if they don't even remember what you said? That is the reason why speakers tell a lot of stories. Show me one TED talk, one that does not have stories. A speaker comes and who's throwing information at you. Who does that? Nobody does that. Not one great orator will come and throw information at you. They will take you on an experience. They want you to feel those emotions. They want to create an emotionally charged event so that dopamine gets released in your brain, and you will remember their talk long term. It's about giving them an experience. Okay, it's all about dopamine. That is what it is all about. Anything that really sticks in your brain, it sticks because you experienced a very heightened emotion, and it is your job as a good speaker to give your audience that emotional experience through your stories. That is why you have to plan everything in advance. You've got to perfectly place it in the right place. Okay, the stories have to be picked properly, they have to be relevant. You have to make sure what is it that you are trying to deliver through that story. All of that is planned well in advance. The entire narrative is crafted properly, and all this is doable. It's very simple. Actually, it's so simple that you can't even begin to imagine. All you have to do is get used to this new way of learning the art of persuasion. So far, we've taken it for granted. We've not understood it. We think it's all about language. As long as we speak the language well, we are good communicators. But that is the biggest misconception that there is. Good communication has very little to do with language. It has everything to do with impact. And it has everything to do with your ability to connect with your audience on a much deeper level. If Brian Stevenson did not connect with his audience that day, you think they would have taken the action that they took? Never, never. Okay. So it's all about that. Now, see, there was another uh, professor of psychology who wanted to take this to the next level. He wanted to understand more about the brain, not the mind, but the human brain, the actual organ. Okay, so he was quite convinced that, okay, maybe oxytocin is getting released and dopamine is getting released when we give our audience an emotional experience. But what in the world is actually taking place in the brain is what he wanted to understand. Now, his name is Yuri Hasson. Okay, he's a professor of psychology at the Princeton University in the US. Now, he conducts a small experiment with a bunch of graduate students. He selects a few graduate students to be the audience. One girl, a graduate student, was selected to be the speaker, and she was instructed to deliver unrehearsed stories. Okay. And while all of that was happening, their brain activity was being monitored. So they were connected to these fMRI machines. Okay. Now, naturally, when the girl started to talk, some brain activity was detected immediately. Obviously, there will be some parts of the brain that will show activation. But there was something strange that happened. It was not about the which part of the brain activated in her brain. What was strange was that the exact same part of the brain activated among the audience as well at the same time when she started to tell stories. So if the insula, which is a part of the brain that is responsible for making us feel emotions, activated in the speaker, the insula also activated among the audience exactly at the same time. If the girl's frontal cortex lit up, if the speaker's frontal cortex lit up, the same thing happened among the audience exactly at the same time. What does this prove to you? It simply proves that when you tell stories and you are emotionalizing the message, there is a brain to brain synchronization taking place. It's called a mind meld taking place, okay? A direct connection. You are connecting with the audience's brain, not the mind, but literally the brain. And with this pathway being now opened for you, this is your biggest opportunity as a speaker to plant certain seeds of thought into their brain. That is how you're able to persuade, because there is a invisible pathway that is opened up. Now, science is absolutely proving this. I am not saying this. You can look it up, do your research. I'm telling you this, man. Go and look it up. Okay? Science has proved this, that when you emotionalize your messages, there is a direct pathway being created between the speaker's brain and the listener's brain. That is how people are able to influence. So if you want to persuade, you want to be a better leader in your organization, and you want to be able to persuade people to take an action. And if you struggle to do that, if you're going to push your weight around, you'll be able to do it to some extent. Beyond a certain point, it'll backfire. You know it. We've all seen those type of leaders, and you know what happens to them by the end of it. You cannot force people to do things that they don't want to do, but you can inspire them, you can motivate them, and you can influence them. If you earn their trust, that process will become absolutely automatic. They will simply do anything for you. But you've, of course, got to maintain a lot of ethics here, right? You've got to be a very ethical leader. You have to influence people to do something that is actually good for them, but they will not do it. They will not do it on their own. That is the whole thing. Okay. Are you with me on this? Are you totally with me on this? Okay. So that is your biggest opportunity. Now, I want to do something very unique today. Okay. See, we've got like 15 minutes left to close this. Today, instead of you recording your videos after the session, I want you to do it on the call. Not live on the call, share it with everybody like that. I'll I'll put you I'll allow you to place yourself on mute. Turn your video off for a while if you want. Take 10 minutes and quickly record a video on your phone. Tell me and all of us here a story about yourself. Be as vulnerable as you possibly can. If there are some obstacles you faced, some challenges you faced in your life, how you emerged strong out of it, I want you to tell me that unrehearsed story. But don't be afraid of judgment. Don't be afraid of judgment. I want you to start getting used to being vulnerable. So you understand, when you do that, I promise you, everyone in this group will be able to connect with you better. They will feel they know you a lot better. That will be your experience also. When you watch another person's video today, you're going to feel that you know everybody else a lot better. Take it from me. Believe me, this is every single time, it's everybody's experience. Okay. So share a story. If you can't think of anything, simply tell me, what made you enroll for this particular program and how you find it. Put it in the form of a story if you can. But what is better, if you can actually tell us a story about your own life, some challenges and some difficulties you faced, and what kind of lessons you learned and how you emerged strong. Let us know you. Okay. 2 minute, 3 minute maximum, short story. You can speak at length if you want, but take 10 minutes, record it right now and share it inside the WhatsApp group. Okay. Good. Are we all okay with this right now? See, this is, we're taking one level at a time. At every stage, it becomes a little more challenging and a little more, not, I won't say difficult, but it really puts you on the spot. That is required if you really want to benefit. Okay. So are we all okay with this? Are we all okay? Yes, excellent. So it is 5:47. I'll come back exactly at 6. Exactly at 6, I'll come back. Okay. So all the best. I'm looking forward to hearing all your stories. Okay. In the WhatsApp group now. All right. Thanks. All right, all right. So I think let's get started again. So thank you so much. I saw a few people sharing their videos. Thanks a lot. I managed to watch only one so far, Mahesh's video. Thank you so much, Mahesh. It was really good. See, watch everybody's videos and you also share your video in there. For the very first time, you will realize that in this 3 days, you will actually feel that you know your team members, your this community members a lot better. Because for the very first time, they're talking about things that they normally don't talk about. Talking about your challenges and your obstacles is something that people love to hold back, right? But that is your biggest opportunity when it comes to connecting with people on a personal and emotional level. I clearly remember one interview I had taken. A young girl had come and she started talking about all the financial difficulties that the family had faced, and very early on she had to start working and all of that. The way she connected with me emotionally, in a few minutes I had decided that I'm going to hire this girl, not because of her qualifications and experience. She never had a lot of experience, but for her maturity. I knew she will learn on the job later. She had the requisite qualification, all that was fine, but I hired her for the maturity. And because the way she connected with me, nobody does that. These things make a difference. So even during an interview, when somebody is asking you, tell me something about yourself, they are giving you that opportunity to tell your story. But we don't use that properly sometimes. We think it's only about sharing my relevant experience and my relevant education. Take them on a journey. This is your opportunity. Talk about some personal things about your life. They will appreciate that. Okay. When I used to work for companies in the sales role, I would make sure to sit with the founder of the company, understand what inspired them to start the company, what inspired them to build this particular product, why not something else. I wanted to understand the backstory, because that backstory I would take to a client. I would tell the client the story of this company, the struggles it faced initially, and how it emerged very strong. And today, what kind of clients we are serving, what problems we are serving, what kind of business outcomes we are helping our customers achieve. And that makes a world of a difference. Versus a salesperson who goes in front of a client, opens a corporate slide decks, and starts throwing information at them. It doesn't connect, it doesn't resonate. Okay. To only throw numbers at the audience is dead information, totally dead information. Okay. It does not resonate with them at all. But if you tell stories, all of that information will suddenly come to life. So when in the beginning, when I had to share the 3 lessons with you, that confidence is not a feeling, your personality is not inborn, and there is a higher purpose. These were the 3 lessons I had to share. I could have directly shared the lessons with you, but I wrapped it in the form of a story. I took good 10-15 minutes to tell you that story. I connected with you on a much deeper level. You started to trust me a little more. You got to know me a little more, so much more. Then the lessons resonated with you very deeply. See, they're not very unique lessons I'm sharing. They're very basic, simple lessons. But because it is coming from a person who you now trust, it has a massive impact on you. You understand? We already know everything. But who is telling you that? And how that person is telling you is what really makes a world of a difference. Okay? That is why to connect with your audience is the most important. So when I say a 10x story leader, someone who's able to inspire, who's able to motivate, and who's able to persuade people to take some sort of an action. Persuade, that's the watchword. How do you persuade? You have to emotionalize your message. You've got to tell stories. That is the only way you can connect with your audience on a personal and emotional level. They will drop the barriers and they will let you in. All right. You earn their trust, and you can actually make them do anything that you want them to do. Okay. How do you think people brainwash people? If people are able to brainwash someone, they use the same strategy to in a negative way. So NAC, there are two sides to a coin, right? There is a flip side to everything. So this thing that I'm talking about can be used in a negative way also. And people who are really wicked, who have no ethics in place, can do this in a negative way. So if they have to brainwash someone, this is what they do. They emotionalize the whole message and they brainwash people, and they make them believe that okay, this is the reality, and they believe it, because they these people, knowingly or unknowingly, understand human behavior. They understand human psychology. You have to use it to your advantage, but while you maintain the highest level of integrity and ethics. That is very important. That is a real leader. Otherwise, you're not really a leader, you're just a manipulator. That's the difference between a manipulator and a leader. Both are using the same strategy, but one manipulates, other leads. Okay, that's the whole thing. So, how was your experience today? How do you feel about your ability now to influence people? Will you tell more stories? Yes, no, maybe. Tell me, will you tell more stories now after you know this? After you know the science, it will only be foolish on someone's part to not tell stories after you understand the science and you know what happens. Correct? You can unmute and talk now if you want to. Okay. We can spend another couple of minutes or so. Would you be more willing to tell stories now? Do you understand the importance of it? Were you able to connect with me in these 3 days? In fact, were you able to connect with me on the very first day? Yes or no? Were you able to connect with me? Did everything I say not resonate with you? Was it because I shared some very unique information with you? I did not share anything unique with you. It is how I said it, how I made an attempt to connect with you. Am I right or wrong? Was I able to connect with you all on the very first call? Yes or no? Anybody wants to share their experience today? Anything at all? You have any questions, any doubts, any concerns before we close? Tomorrow is going to be something very interesting. Okay. Tomorrow, we are going to take the NLP route. Okay. So far we have worked, I mean, we took the tactical route. So we actually did things. We learned, we implemented, we took action, we attained a tangible result. And we have already got a flavor of that transformation. We're already feeling more comfortable in our own skin when it comes to our ability to communicate well. We're getting started on this journey. Tomorrow, I'll take the parallel route where we are going to rewire the brain for public speaking success. You are going to go on a journey tomorrow, believe me. And what do you have to do? Absolutely nothing. It is an effortless process. And sometimes it is even a very emotional experience for a few people. Definitely be there. It's not something you should miss. You must get a flavor of what I keep saying. So if I'm saying that we work on the level of the mind and we reprogram the brain for public speaking success, how does that work? How does NLP really work? Tomorrow you'll get a flavor of that. Okay. So definitely be there. And as I have promised, I am going to do a complete diamond showcase. So if any of you would like to continue this journey with me, if you would like me to work with you for maybe the next 1 year or more, then you definitely have an opportunity to. I will showcase everything to you. I'll open it up to you all, and then you can make an informed decision. Okay. Anything else as of right now? Format for storytelling. We'll expand on that, Jignesh. We'll expand on all of that. But definitely be there tomorrow. First things first. Definitely be there tomorrow. For most of you, it'll be an unforgettable experience. It'll be a very unique experience, something that you've not experienced before. Okay. Before we close, anything anybody wants to say? Any questions? Any doubts? Any concerns? 7 p.m. Of course. Tomorrow 7 p.m. Same time. Yes, tomorrow 7 p.m. Today was only an exception. All right.
Yeah,
Anything else? Yeah. Who's this? I'm sorry. Can you announce your name?
Nayan, Nayan here.
Just a second. Hey, 1 minute. Okay. Let me add pin. All right. Yeah. Yes, Nan. Tell me.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it is a great experience till now.
Okay.
And
Good.
the the part I like is like accountability part, because we are so resilient to speak in front of people, and when you make that, you need to take small steps.
Yeah.
Somehow we gather that courage and took
Yes.
those actions, and because of that small action, we are
Yes.
getting confidence build up within us,
Very
and
good. Very true.
we are trying little bit things. Maybe it is not perfect.
No
It will get
problem.
improvised, but we have
Yes.
started. I
Very
think
good.
that is more important thing.
You're very right, Nayan. I mean, it's a very correct point you have highlighted. You said the right word. It's called accountability. Most people lack accountability in their life, and that is the reason why they don't take any action. Because, see, all of us love to be great communicators. We know that there is information all over the place. So we can go on YouTube and we watch unstructured videos, we read books and we do things, we do it for a week and then it fizzles out, correct? What we are lacking is inspiration and motivation to stay on the path. It's like you go to a gym, okay, you take the membership and you decide to figure things out on your own. So you pull out a workout plan, you watch some videos on YouTube from the internet, you pull out a diet plan, and you are doing something. Now there's another person who has hired a proper instructor, a personal trainer. That personal trainer not only designs the entire workout and the diet plan, but is present with you, with that person, while that person is working out. Who is going to get a better result and in how much time? Naturally, the person with the trainer, right? Because the trainer is somebody who has been there, done that. They know the route. Why do you go to a tourist destination and care to hire a guide? Because you know that person will save your time. They know what you should see. They know the history of that place. They will guide you properly and you'll get a proper experience, correct? Versus you trying to figure things out. That's where your learning curve is going to flatten, right? And your journey will expedite. You can compress those many years and those days into just a few, maybe a few days to a few months, right? That is the benefit of being a part of a program like this and having a coach along your side, okay? That's the whole thing. Great. So somebody else has
Any
Smarak? Yeah.
vocal exercises to improvise? Because when I heard my voice first time,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is how I sound. So, and when I listen to you, your sound or your voice is so smoothing.
Yeah.
It feels like we should keep listening to you.
Okay.
Is there
Thanks.
any
That
technique?
sounds good to me. Okay. That
Great.
comes over time, Nayan. It will come over time with practice. Trust me, you would have not said the same thing had you heard me a few years ago. Believe me, you would have not said the same thing. I'm not just making it up. You'll just have to believe me here. Okay. So nobody is born a certain way. When you do something repeatedly and it enters your psyche, it gets to the subconscious level, it somehow becomes your second nature. Okay. So I was never a very expressive person. I was a very shy, a timid and an introverted kind of a person. I could not even make proper eye contact. I never used my body language. If you made me stand in front of people, I would be the most awkward person in the room. Okay. I would fumble, I would stammer, and I would make a fool of myself. Even as an adult, I'm not only saying as a child, even as an adult, I have done this. Believe me, as an adult, I have embarrassed myself a lot of times. So when you do something repeatedly over and over again, and you follow a proper process, it is simply inevitable that you will transform. All you have to do is you have to repeat this activity and you have to be in the proximity of the right people. That will change everything for you. Proximity really matters. Otherwise, you're going to be demotivated and you'll not continue this journey of transformation. That much I can tell you with absolute certainty. Okay? So that's the whole thing. Great. Thank you, Nayan. So, Smarak, you're saying tell something on emotional intelligence in leadership, strategic leadership. Can you expand on that? Can you, so that I can give you a more precise answer? Can you unmute and ask me the same thing? Smarak? Emotional intelligence? Okay. Emotional intelligence simply means that you are intelligent enough to understand and manage your own emotions properly. So if you, in a certain situation, you will react as much as you are required to react. You understand? Most people react a little bit too much at times, so they throw a tantrum, right? They get overly excited. They're not able to manage their emotions really well. Firstly, because they don't understand their emotions well. And because of that, they're not able to manage their emotions really well. But a good leader is a very calm and a composed personality, you will notice. They don't get flustered very fast. People who get flustered very fast are people who don't lead well because their mind will close on them. But in a crisis situation, when a person is able to remain calm and cool, their mind is still able to think, you're able to think properly, right? That is an emotionally intelligent person. They know how much of their emotion they have to show. And when you are emotionally intelligent as a leader, which means that you understand your own emotions and you're able to manage your own emotions, only and only then will you be able to understand and manage another person's emotion. See, that's how great speakers are. Because they are so emotionally intelligent, they're also able to understand their audience's emotions. And that is how that's where empathy comes into the picture. They empathize with the audience, they put themselves in their shoes. That's how they earn the audience's trust, because they empathize. You understand? But when the leader is not emotionally intelligent, they could be very ruthless at times, and that leadership eventually falls. It fails. It doesn't work because people don't like it. People don't like to be led by a dictator. It doesn't work. They want to be led by a person who understands them. When I had a team, I had people coming to me sometimes with some personal things also. Now, can I tell them that that's not my problem? You please go from here. I cannot do that. If somebody is having a personal problem, because of that, they're not able to focus on work and that is affecting their productivity. As a leader, it is my responsibility to hear them out, because maybe there is something I can do for them. Maybe I can suggest something, I can propose something, I can work out a more flexible timing for them. I have to do these things. And when I did these things for them, they went out of the way in situations of crisis. They did everything for me because I went out of my way to support them. Right? That is an emotionally intelligent leader. Does that give you the answer that you're looking for, Mark? Okay. So it's all about that. It's all about that. Okay. That's what it is all about. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Ask me. Yeah. What about it? Can you expand on it? Can you ask me a more expanded question, something very specific, so that I understand what you mean? In what context are you asking me? See, in from what I can tell, strategic simply means that there is some strategy, correct? You have to understand the place of your project in the overall scheme of things. How does it impact the overall organization's goals? How crucial is your project? Okay. And strategic simply means that you take a strategic approach to something, right? Strategic means that there is a plan, there is a purpose. So, like how a company, when they have a product and a service, tell me one organization that does not have a proper business model or a proper structure or a strategy. They all have a strategy. They know who their target audience really is. They have a product or a service that they have created. They have crafted a value proposition. Okay, value proposition is what value do we bring to the table through this product of ours that is perfectly crafted. And they take that value proposition to that customer. How do they take it? They can take it through the sales team, through the marketing team, through the business development team, different channels. What are the channels? Okay. And when this is the strategic approach that you take. So if I am a salesperson, if I have to plan my goals, I say that okay, my quota for this year is 2 million US dollars. I'll work my way backwards. I'll take a strategic approach to this. So I will think that okay, if I have to achieve $2 million in revenue, how many deals do I really require to crack? So maybe I require, say, 4 deals worth so and so to help me achieve my annual quota. Fantastic. Now, to achieve these 4 deals, to close these 4 deals, how many opportunities will I require? Maybe I'll require 20. Out of 20 opportunities, 4 will actually close. That's law of averages, right? That's the average conversion. For 20 opportunities, how many leads will I require? I will require maybe 100 leads because only 20% conversion happens into an opportunity, right? So I'm working my way backwards. If I need 100 leads, what action do I need to take right now? Which teams I need to involve? Maybe the business development team, the marketing team, that I need 100 leads right now in order for me to close 4 deals and achieve my goal. Strategic approach. I'm giving you this in a sales context. You put it in a project management context. It's a strategic approach. This business acumen that you have, this is a true leader who guides their team how to achieve their objectives. It's not a leader is not somebody who's only giving objectives. A leader is also somebody who tells them how to achieve that objective by showing them a strategic approach. Proper prospecting, how do you map the entire organization? How do you connect with decision makers? How do you find a champion in that company? Right? That's a strategic approach. Correct? Does that answer your question to some extent at least? Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Nayan, I'm just going to read what you've written. Strategic approach, a little bit long-term action plan to achieving the goals versus correct. Exactly. Your tactical stuff, see, tactical is ground level, all the legwork that you do immediately. But the strategic approach is you take a 30,000 feet view, a bird's eye view, where you look at the organization as a whole, the department as a whole, the process as a whole, and you understand that where do I fit in the overall scheme of things? So this little effort that I will put when I achieve my objective, how does that help my organizational objectives? My organization's objectives. That is a strategic approach. And when you speak this language, your management will simply love you. They want to hear this. This is like music to their ear. If you speak such language, that is a true leader, right? Now you are not speaking like an employee, somebody who only has an employee mindset and somebody who has an entrepreneurial mindset. This is how a business owner speaks. It's a 30,000 feet view, right? That is how a business owner, they don't speak specifics ever. Very high level talks, okay? Strategy, level of strategy is very high level. A business model can be plotted on a single piece of paper. I've done it. I've done it sitting with a founder of a company. I've done it. There are 9 building blocks to a business model. On one piece of paper, on one screen, you can plot the business model of the biggest company in the world. It's as simple as that. That's strategic leadership to you. Okay? Long answer, but this is what it is. Great. Excellent. So, yeah. Yeah. No, I can understand, Smark. I see. I'll tell you one thing. This program here, I want to produce leaders, true leaders. This is not just about communication. Okay, public speaking is one aspect of it, but I'm sure you're getting a feel of it. Of why do I say 10x story leader? Why don't I just stop at saying become a good communicator? Why am I saying leader? Because it goes beyond public speaking. It's a lot more than that. Okay. What my diamond members go through is very significant, actually. We also cover personal branding and so many other aspects of things, you know. So tomorrow I'll show you what is it, and it'll take me some time to actually walk you through the entire diamond showcase and see it for yourself and see if you think that's beneficial. Then you can obviously choose to continue this journey. Okay. The 4-day workshop is sufficient in itself for some if they want. If they think it's enough and you don't want to move forward, no problem at all. But for the ones who want to continue, who think it's adding value, there's a lot we can offer for sure. Okay. So anything else before we close for today? I know we've taken a lot of time. Anybody else wants to share something, ask me a question before we close? All good? All right then. So great. Thank you so much. I will upload the, sorry, somebody. Yeah. Was that? LinkedIn profile? Sorry? I do that. I do that in my Diamond membership. Yes, absolutely. I do that. In fact, I'm doing that with my Diamond members next Tuesday. So I'm starting personal branding with them next Tuesday. Yeah. So I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it tomorrow. It's a very holistic kind of a program, you know. It's I would say mostly related to public speaking and to becoming a powerful communicator, but it's a very holistic approach to becoming a very all-rounded kind of a leader. Okay. So we take personal branding into the picture as well because it is very important. How people perceive you is very important. They must see you as an authority in your field, as a leader in your field. That is how those opportunities will then come to you, right? And public speaking is one way for you to boost your personal brand. And I will talk about these things. Okay. I'll expand on it a little bit tomorrow for sure. Okay. Are we all okay with this? Great. All right. So thank you so much. Definitely be there tomorrow. It's going to be an unforgettable experience for you because first of all, We are going to take the parallel route where we work on the level of the mind and we rewire the brain for public speaking success. Okay, that's one. Then I will do the complete diamond showcase. So if anybody wants to continue on this journey, if you want me to be on your side for a long time, okay, and you want to be a part of a community where there are senior corporate leaders, there are doctors, and there are finance leaders and professors and all kinds of people, okay, PhDs, okay. So that's what I meant by doctors, okay. So I'll give you a glimpse of everything tomorrow. I'll open it up completely to you, okay. So definitely be there sharp at 7 o'clock. Make sure you're not late so that you don't miss anything. That's very important, okay. Until then, take care and please complete the videos. If you've not completed your level 2, complete it. If you haven't shared your story, share it. We all are looking forward to hearing from you. All right. Thank you so much. Take care. And I will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. All right. Take care and have a nice day ahead. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.